Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Men in Red 97 Podcast. This is episode 8. You might be wondering, why is Alan doing the intro? Why isn't Matt doing it? Because Matt isn't here. So get over it. I'm joined, of course, by our other lovely co-host, that is DJ.
Hello, Matt got mad at me, so that's why he's not here.
Yes, he wasn't too happy with the question of the day. So he's like, they ballin' by their own, except we're not on our own, because we're joined today by one of the creative editors and writers of Men in Red 97, and that is Mr. Jiggly.
I actually killed Matt. Was I supposed to tell you guys earlier?
That would have been great to know, but beside the point. Anyways.
Wait, then who was answering the text messages earlier?
Well, you kill a guy, you have his phone. Don't worry, I can bring him back later.
That's great. That's great. You know, he's kind of the boss man on this. So
he's just gonna listen to this and be like, "It's 5 seconds in, and they've already messed it up."
This is what happens when you bring me onto a podcast. I called myself the Peter Wilt of Chicago Fire podcasts. I'm just sort of everywhere.
It's incredible. Well, with our powers combined, we will make this truly an interesting episode. And like with other previous guests, Jiggly, why don't you tell our Fire faithful and lovelies a bit about yourself, what you do for Men in Red 97, and how did you get into the mix that is Chicago Fire?
I'm going to answer that question first because I keep hearing you ask that question, and I keep thinking, like, how am I going to answer that? Because I was born and I was here. I was like, the legend goes that when my mom was pregnant with me, I would follow along to the game somehow. Like she was being pulled around. So yeah, I've been here since apparently before I was born. And I am Jiggly. You may know me from being the anime person on Twitter. And I also do Sad Boys. And for Men in Red, I am the creative editor, not one of the. I am the creative editor.
The creative.
I'm the creative editor because I told Matt I should have an editing position, and he said, "Sure, give yourself a name." Now I have something to put on a business card.
That's incredible. I feel like it's kind of like a Dwight Schrute assistant to the general manager or something like that. I don't know. I've never seen.
Yeah, I was hired. I keep saying this story, but Matt brought me in basically saying, look, you don't have any deadlines. You don't have to actually cover the team. I want you to write something stupid like once in a while to make sure that we have some fun stuff on the site. And so far, I got 2 articles out, and both of them are, well, one of them was very well received. The other one was only well received by those who read it. Not a lot of people actually read it.
Yes, and we'll get on to what that one article specifically is a bit later on. So, one piece of news that came out fairly recently is, of course, having surrounded with the Gold Cup, and the games and venues have been announced, and Soldier Field will be hosting the opening game of the United States men's national team against Jamaica on June 24th. So exciting to have a national game of, not just a friendly, but like a fairly important game at Soldier Field. So are you two planning on seeing that? Well, DJ, I don't know. Are you still going to be in Florida by then, I'm guessing?
Probably.
Dang. So Jiggly, are you?
I'm not somebody who likes going to international games. Like I'm not a US fan. When I cheer, like I honestly, I was more excited about like Poland and Japan in the World Cup than I was of the US.
I remember Poland, Japan. That was Russia 2018. That was the one game that Poland won, but we were already eliminated by then.
Yeah, I remember that. I was very disappointed by that because it's like, I would want like Poland to win, but like they were already out, so I might as well cheer for Japan. I think Japan was also eliminated by then.
Japan was literally eliminated because of... No. Senegal was eliminated over Japan because of yellow card
Oh,
offenses, because they were tied on points, tied on wins, tied on goal differentials, and they had to go to yellow card offenses to who would be moving on, and that was Japan. That was when in the next round they had a 2-0 lead over Belgium, and they ended up losing 3-2, which I was like, oh my God, it's Japan. Japan, they're gonna, and then no. So
you know what?
they,
Like that honestly, this past year's World Cup was so much more exciting for Japan. That was so much more fun. That game against
Operation
Spain.
Blue Lock.
That was like, oh, I mean, I have issues with that show. But but like I remember sitting in my documentary class, just like watching this game unfold and like trying to stay calm and not make it look like I was watching it.
No, yeah. I had, since I go to DePaul, we're on the quarter system. We get basically the entire month of December off for winter break, so I was able to watch pretty much most of the games without, having to deal with school. So, yeah, but, going back from our little sidetrack,
If I go to this game, I'm gonna be cheering for Jamaica. I'm gonna be hanging out with the Jamaica fans.
all right. I know there was a bit of discussion about who'd be going to that game, whether they'd be just there as fans or whether they'd be with the supporter group that's American Outlaws.
American Outlaws. I
Yes.
remember when it was Uncle Sam's Army. Where did they go?
I have no clue. I'm not too familiar with American Outlaws and like that whole culture, so I can't really talk much about that. I mean, I'm not going to be in the States when that game happens. I'll be in Italy, so I can also say that I probably won't be able to go there. And apparently, that game is also happening at the same time as the Fire's game at Kansas City. So
Yeah, I don't think I'll be watching
there's
it then. I'm not
yeah,
going
no.
to I'm not going to an international game when the Fire are playing.
Yeah, and I think that's what some people were saying as well. I mean, me being in Italy, I'm probably not going to be watching it unless I think I've mentioned that I would try to like stay up, maybe like once or maybe even twice, like staying up to watch. Of course, that depends if I'm gonna pass out immediately or something like that. So
Alan, I've
yeah,
said back when I thought that I was going to get a job in Japan to like teach English and everything, I said that like I don't care about what I have the next day. I'm going to stay up to whatever time I need to watch the Fire.
that's that's incredible of you. I will say the last time I was in Italy, I did not watch any of the games because simply I was tired. I was incredibly busy there. I wasn't in Italy and I won't be in Italy, just for like, vacations and stuff like that. I'm a part of a summer program, so I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff there in terms of singing and acting, opera stuff, all like that. But getting back to the topic that is the Chicago Fire, um,
Actually, I wouldn't have to stay up that long. Honestly, all games would start at like 9:30 a.m. Japan time the next day.
I guess, yeah. For Italy, it's like 1 a.m. or something like that, or like 2:30 a.m. I think 1:30 since 7:30 that's 6. Yeah, so it'd be like 1:30. Yeah. So, speaking of being able to watch the game, DJ, since you're someone that has to watch the games through TV, I heard there was a lot of issues with Apple TV recently in the last game week. Were you experiencing any issues in terms of watching the
Uh,
game?
I did not get to watch the game live, so
Mhm.
no. I will say the game that Apple TV, I think what I found was a couple of weeks ago, I tried watching a game, and because I was logged in on separate devices, it wouldn't let me watch it. That's the only weird thing I've had happen. But that was the game against DC, so it probably wouldn't have mattered because that game was a bore fest.
I've had a couple of problems actually because I tried rewatching this game and
Mhm.
there was an outage. I could not hear. I watched the replay of it, and for about 15 minutes, there was no English commentary. The first 10
Really?
15 minutes, there was no English commentary. You could switch over to the Spanish commentary. It was there. The English commentary wasn't. And I've also had to deal with some other stuff this past weekend of like, technically we have like both Apple TV and MLS Season Pass, which are, two separate things. And it was all on the same account, but it wasn't recognizing it as the same account. And so we had to deal with that this weekend so I could finally watch Ted Lasso.
Yeah, from what I was reading on the interwebs and the social media, a lot of people were having trouble watching on their TV and they had to settle it to watching it on their tablet or phone. A lot of people also having difficulties signing in. Or I think Arai said he had, he doesn't have any Apple devices. And when he was having problems, he was trying to look it up. Apple would just be like, sign into your iPad or iPhone. Then he's like, I don't have that. So, yeah, there's been a few difficulties. And around the idea of, Apple TV season pass, the idea of, oh, you're able to watch all the games, no blackout, regardless. It's kind of difficult to watch all those games when there's uniform kickoff times, when the majority of the games are happening at the same time. Kind of ruins the point. And because of that, I haven't honestly been able to watch other MLS games because, if the Fire are playing at home, I'm probably at Soldier Field. And if they're playing away, I'm watching them. And I'm not really a fan of like split screening games because I think that's a possibility. They're able to like watch multiple games at the same time. And the only time I've ever done that was actually the last World Cup when Poland was playing against, I think they were playing against Saudi. No, that was the Poland Mexico game, I think it was. Or was it Poland and Argentina?
No, it would have been Poland, Argentina.
It was Poland, Argentina, and Mexico, Saudi Arabia. So, and of course Poland went on to lose. So I was like, okay, the result of Mexico, Saudi Arabia mattered. So then I had the game split screen. But I'm not really gonna do the same thing for the MLS regular season. Do you guys have anything to add on to that?
I will say I don't mind the uniform kickoff times because it gives a sense of at least we know when the games are, we know what's going on. But at the same time, yeah, it does kind of make it very difficult to watch the games unless you have time later on to actually physically rewatch them, which then you run into the problems that Jiggly had.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm very glad you guys have come around to the idea that this is really dumb. Because I remember listening to like one of the first episodes and you guys talking about how excited you are about like no blackouts. It's like, yeah, no blackouts, but also we're dealing with all the other stuff that comes with it, which is the uniform kickoff times. I like MLS is incredibly fun to watch because it's so stupid, but you're not able to watch it if you care about a team. MLS seems to only want like casual fans, essentially. They
Yeah.
don't want you to have a team. They want you to watch the league. They want you to watch MLS 360, and that's the only way you're getting it. And there's other issues. I haven't even watched MLS 360 since the first week because I've been watching the Fire. I can't watch MLS 360. And then like, they wanted to make it. If they wanted to make Red Zone, they should have made Red Zone because they didn't make Red Zone. They made something completely different. And the only reason why Red Zone works so well with the NFL is that like there's so much empty space in those games that you can move around. You can move around between play, have like triple box or whatever, and then focus in on one because that one actually is moving. Like you can do that. And the Golasso show on CBS actually found a way to do that in soccer. And instead, MLS 360 has not been that. And the idea of every single game kicking off at the same exact time, it's just not compatible. I mean, the entire Apple TV deal is not looking good. Exactly what a lot of Fire fans have said after our experiences with ESPN Plus.
Yeah, and speaking of NFL, I feel like if MLS the season pass worked similar, or not season pass, but in terms of scheduling of the games, if it was similar to the NFL, where we would have, some of the games kicking off at the same time, another part of games kicking off at the same time, and then maybe
do.
having some like quote unquote prime time games.
They do
maybe
that.
having.
They actually do that, but it's only by an hour. The
Yeah,
NFL, it has it split by like, 4 or 5 hours. So an entire slate of games can be done and we move on to the next slate.
Well, yeah,
MLS tries to do that, but they only separate it by an hour.
Yeah, well, that's what I was trying to say. Have that separation so that you're able to watch one game and then you can have, your post game, your pregame, your MLS 360 in between, then move on to the next game. And then, maybe have like a prime time game, like a Monday night or Sunday night or something like that. Like, give fans opportunities to watch more games throughout the match week than just your team.
Remember, it's match
Essentially.
day now.
Match day. Oh,
Because the league says that it's a day. Just like how
Mm.
St. Louis City wants you to spell it with all caps. You are not MF Doom. You do not have that respect.
Nah. All right. DJ, have anything else to add to this before we move on?
Not really, no.
All right. So, moving on to the next topic. I'm pretty sure we've discussed this in the last episode, but this week we have someone that has written a fairly good amount about this game, and that is our upcoming U.S. Open Cup derby against Chicago House. And Jiggly, you wrote a fairly long article about the game that led up to it, which is Forward Madison against Chicago House. Do you want to tell the lovelies about the experience that was that game?
I think the big thing about it was like, it's all in the title, which was, I'm just cheering for goals tonight. I went to that game thinking, well, I told Alex, our editor in chief, Alex Scalabrese, I told him that like if the House make it to the next round and they're playing against Forward Madison, I'm going to go to that game. And I did, and I wanted to write about it. And the big thing from that game wasn't, what happened on the pitch, which is obviously like amazing. Like what that was they were leading into like the 70th minute or something, and then suddenly the House just came back. It was great. But the big thing to me was just how like amicable it all was. Compared to last season where the Fire played against Union Omaha, and then like the Omaha players started trying to rile up Sector for some reason, for no reason, honestly. And it was just interesting seeing the reaction from the Forward Madison fans to the House fans. It's just like, yeah, we can't believe you guys have just done this either. That's cool. Good for you. And I also want to add that stadium, Brees Stevens, it's not a stadium. Like it is what it is. It's a ballpark, but it looks like, one of those old, like one of those really old lower division, like grounds that you'd see. And like if you play Football Manager, like, I don't know, Chester, although we kind of know where Chester actually plays, but like, it looks like a place where like Farsley Celtic United would play. Like, it doesn't seem like it belongs in America, especially in the Midwest, but it was built in like 1926. There's so much history behind it. It's honestly incredible, and it's a fun place to be at. And I got to hang out with Peter Wilt too, which is always a good time.
Yeah, I'm seeing some pictures. Like you mentioned, the field. The field does look like a bit like lower division English like team, like League Two or even lower than that, and it looks very interesting. And of course, yeah, here's Peter Wilt as well. That's very lovely smile. Love that.
And then the cow that they have.
Yeah. What is the cow's name again?
The cow's name is Leonella Bessie, and there's another cow, her daughter, whose name is Rose Cowbell. And the fun story behind it is that like Rose refused to get on the trailer to get to the game. And they're like, well, we're not going to force her to get on. But my joke is that she knew what was happening.
That's incredible. That really is. So, you've seen the game. You've seen how the House have played. What are your thoughts in terms of preview and like report ahead of the Chicago crosstown rivalry / derby that's coming up next Wednesday?
Well, I mean, I've followed the House since they started, like since well before they started, back when they were originally supposed to be in the NASL. And my friend Adnan that I do Sad Boys with, he is pretty much the only guy who has covered the House for this long since the beginning as like an actual journalist instead of just like, there were some, I think there were a couple of like people that were covering them for like the first season, then they just left. Adnan's the only person who's like stuck with them the entire way through. I'd honestly trust his opinion a whole lot more about the house. What I will say is that have the clutch gene. I think that's the biggest thing I'm going to say because of the ending to the game against Bavarians. I remember watching that game and just saying the house looked terrible, but they won. Like they somehow found their way to get a goal. I think it was sometime like early in the second half, maybe. I don't remember it very well, but I do remember that at the end, the goalkeeper made a horrible mistake, dragging down a Bavarians player in the box, and was not called for it. They did not call a penalty, even though they should have. And then like a bit later, like basically the last kick of the match, he makes an amazing save. They have the clutch gene of just like they need to get done when it needs to get done when it needs to get done. They came back from 2-0 down against Madison and they won somehow. So we should be looking at like there's no point where it's going to be over for the house.
That's very good. Very good way of looking at it. And like, yeah, I was able to watch, I think, majority of the game against Bavarian as well as majority of the Forward Madison game. That's a team that even though they were, in terms of quality a bit outmatched, they just pressed to the end. And then, yeah, they were a bit lucky with that call. But yeah, they had the touch. They had the power and they clutched it. And Matt mentioned it in the previous episode. And I know I backed him up on this that, we're probably going to see a decent amount of bench players. We might see some like Fire 2 players being on the pitch, for me.
That might be an even matchup.
And that's
that might be an even matchup. And that's going to be that'd be scary for any Fire fan. That's an even matchup to me.
Yeah. And like I said, and it's like, people are having, and Matt mentioned about people having opinions on like what's more important, us doing well in the cup or us, more focusing on the league. And for me, it's a win is a win. And even if it's against a semi-pro team that is like the house, a win is a win.
You want to know why it's actually important to the Fire? Because the Fire are currently tied for the most we're tied among active teams for the most titles in the US Open Cup. We have 4. We are tied with the Sounders and Sporting Kansas City.
Yep.
And we're behind Bethlehem Steel and Maccabi Los Angeles. Neither of those teams are coming back. Seattle Sounders and Sporting Kansas City can both get ahead. The Fire are supposed to be the kings of the cup, and we have faltered in that for so many years now that you know what? We know that this is not an MLS Cup winning team. And we got to be honest with ourselves and say that. And look, if we can get silverware, this is how you get silverware. I don't know if this is the type of silverware that's going to like get people out to fill up Soldier Field for the final, but I do know it's silverware, it's winning, and it's something. It shows that something about this project is going to work.
Yeah, and you in terms of getting back that confidence and, kind of getting people back into the Fire fandom and Soldier Field, you have to start winning something. You have to just, put something in the cabinet, put out a headline that we won something, and you have to start somewhere. So, like you said, Kings of the Cup, you have to retain that because so far in the last few years, we just have not been working towards that. And like I've been saying with a lot of things around the Fire, something's got to flip. DJ, do you have any thoughts on this?
Perfect honesty, I feel like the Fire are probably they have to win this, and they have to win the cup this year. This year. If the Fire can sneak into the playoffs, they're not going anywhere. They could miss the playoffs. If they can't win the cup this year, then at that point you're kind of just saying there's no more hope for like Heights and Peltzer and Ezra. It's just like this is the one thing the Fire should 100% be focused on is the cup. Like you gotta win it, or you at least gotta make a run to the semis or the final. Like that's the bare minimum we should be expecting. And it's like, if you can't do that, then yeah, no.
And all hope is lost.
Basically,
We want the cup.
We want the cup.
do we even have any hope left? I think we ran out.
You know, that's the
There's-
funny thing about sports is that there's always next season, and that's kind of the scary part. It just keeps coming.
That's the motto of Chicago sports right now. There's always next year.
And that's scary.
Unfortunately. And then when next season comes and then it starts off and it's like, oh boy, here we go again.
Despite being the same thing over and over, it just keeps
That's-
happening.
That's like me and most White Sox fans right now. The MLB season's barely started and we're like, oh boy, here we go again. But
Well, I mean, if we're talking more about like specific fire stuff, like I just want to say, like it's something that I say on Sad Boys a lot, and I mention a lot as like my own area of expertise as a sports journalist is just like narrative. This league is built on narrative, and the thing about the Fire is that they have their own narrative separate from the rest of the league that we always follow. And I swear we are going to have an amazing run sometime in August. And people are going to think we're going to make it into the playoffs, and we will not, because that's how it is every single year. That's the script.
Yep.
how they write the script over in the MLS office.
They've stopped trying to write a script for the Fire. They just sort of send in the same one every year.
It's just copy paste.
They're busy with the other teams.
Yeah.
They can't deal with the Fire. They're busy with the other team's scripts.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move in to the game that happened on Saturday. And before we get into the obvious, let's start off with the positives. And that is the first half. The Fire are so far a very much first half team. Once again, just like in previous games, this was a first half where the Fire have very much dominated the ball in possession and just overall control of the game. It was really fun to watch. You know, we were bumping. And anytime that the Union have tried to go forward or try to create some chances, you know, we've had that very successful duo of center backs, that is my captain Rafael Chijos and Carlos Terán, that have been doing very well this season. You know, Carlos Terán was putting in honestly a man of the match performance in terms of defense, and you know, we created the chances and exploiting the Union's defense to go 1-0 up in the first half and then start off the second half going that 2-0. And then, oops, they did it again. There were some, you know, interesting substitutions made by Ezra. I think one of the main ones being Guti and Kai Kamara being subbed off for Shaqiri finally making his appearance back after injury, and our young Greek Koutsias. And that combined with the unfortunate injury of Carlos Terán, just once again, I think I've said this to Jiggly, that if I were to, you know, in a few short words describe it, first half Fire, second half Ashes.
Well, the funny thing is that the substitutions didn't happen until after both goals happened. It was 62nd minute, 64th minute, and they were actually talking about like Koutsias and Shaqiri getting up off the bench as Philly had come down. I think the bigger thing is, you know, I'm going to say this. His mom follows me on Twitter. She seems like a very, very nice lady. And, you know, she understands when there needs to be criticism. And I'm sorry, Kendall Burks is just not a professional player right now. I think that he's better than he was when I was originally just blasting him when we had drafted him and when he had been playing with Fire 2, but he'd actually gotten better after he came back from his injury last season. But we should not have him out on the pitch. The problem is the other person that we could put on the pitch is Wyatt Omsberg, who I love. We all love him here, right?
I super love him.
We love Wyatt. He does not look the same since his injury. He has not looked good with Fire 2. His only appearance so far with the first team is a yellow card. it ain't looking good. So that's a problem that we have to put out Kendall Burks for Tehran, and that Kendall Burks is apparently our first choice off the bench at center back.
Yeah. And it's a shame because he had good moments in that game. He's had some good saves. While on the flip side, just the coin was completely flipped on the other side for that second half, where it was the Union the one that was constantly creating problems for us, and we could not get anywhere in that second half. And there were many moments where the Union were essentially one-on-one, or like almost like running towards one-on-one, where I was honestly ducking behind the concrete barrier in front of me in the front row, just like, oh no, oh no.
I mean, the big thing is it's like I know I mentioned a center back, but it's the fullbacks. It has always been the
Yes,
fullbacks this entire
yes.
season. And you know who got the assist for Marin's goal?
Say it out loud.
Miguel Navarro.
Noah's favorite person.
Look, the thing is that like we know that Miggy and Arno Soke both like give something going forward. But all that we've seen from them going back is terrible. So that means we have to put out 3 center backs. What did I just say about our lack of center backs?
I feel like the problem with Miggy is he has those flashes, even defensively. He has moments where it's like you can tell he can play, and then the rest of the game is just like, oh my god. Full honesty, we haven't had a good left back since Gonzalo Cigares. We had Vincent for 1 year.
Jovan Jones.
Like, well, he only played for 1 year though, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's Brandon Vincent. I thought he was fine.
I think Vincent's problem was just injuries, but still, like,
yeah, that was injuries.
Like, even compared to them, though, in fairness, it's Cigares. Like, Cigares is the best left back in Fire history. Come at me, bro.
When was the last time we had a good right back? That's the bigger question.
Matt Bolster.
He's not a right back. He was a holding midfielder. He was only forced to play right back. Same with Drew Connor. They both did serviceable jobs at right back, but they were not right backs. No. They never were.
Yeah, but just kind of sad because prior to that, the only right back I can think of that was actually decent is Jaleel. Well, like there was Lovell, but
no,
like
Jaleel Alibaba, I believe, was more of a left back. I think so.
With the Fire, he was a right back. Oh. With the Fire, like 2012, 13, he was forced out wide because of Barry and Friedrich to Samore.
Because I mean, I was gonna say like the last good natural right back that the Fire have ever had is Evan Whitfield. Like, dear God, how far back do you have to go for that? Like, that's like how are we here?
Like maybe Dean can grow into that role and being like really good right back in the league. He has impressed, but it's like
he's not being allowed to play.
Yeah. Like you can't expect him to be one of the best in the league if you're playing Suke over him, which in fairness, Suke has gotten better, which is part of where it's like maybe you keep letting him grow, but if the game, like on that same note, you need somebody good. If you want to play Suke, okay, but start Dean over Navarro.
We're talking about Arno Soke growing and getting better. That man's 31 years old.
Well, yeah, but it's still MLS. It's still like, MLS. Like it's.
I understand that there's like this idea that like, yeah, you can still keep growing. No matter how old you are, you can still get better. But like, why are we trying to grow a 31-year-old when we got a 25-year-old guy who does his job better?
That is a fair question. But it's like, in all honesty, this entire conversation would just be. I feel like we're going to be having this same conversation in a couple of years again when Suke leaves. And it's like, well, for some reason we traded Dean away. So now what are we doing?
And, you know, we didn't keep Dre, which that annoys me.
Well, we do have Justin Reynolds.
Yeah, his brother who gets red cards constantly.
Yeah. His brother whose name
he knows it. He knows it.
This brings up another thing. MLS's roster page is so beyond screwed up that they don't even know what Justin Reynolds is or Sergio Orahel is.
I don't think anyone knows. That's the problem, because I think naturally Justin Reynolds is supposed to be a left. It's supposed to be a right back.
Oh
but
no,
he
I don't
plays
even.
on the left.
I don't even mean positionally. I mean they don't know what his contract is.
Oh,
Like literally, he's listed, but he's not even listed as technically a player. Trying to understand salary cap is even harder when they don't tell you what the positions they are.
They keep changing language. I mean, I used to try to decipher what it is until I finally realized they don't want anyone to know what it is. They don't want anyone to know.
Gotta love MLS.
Amen. I said that.
I mean, like that was definitely like that entire game was Miguel Navarro.
Yeah.
Like those both of those goals were Miguel Navarro, and I could point it out. I mean, obviously, the penalty, that's like viscerally on him. That is him just going out of position, putting on a body check. I mean, I thought that who was the guy?
Was it Casas?
Where is it? I got to pull it up right here. That was it was Casas. Okay.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, laying down like an open ice hit. I mean, we had Miggy do that, trying to hit him into another guy. The ball had already gotten away from him. What are you doing? That's stupid. And yeah, it's in the box, obviously. And then that next goal, he's not watching his man. I mean, Chihos has his guy perfectly covered, and he's pinching in to double team the guy. Meanwhile, he's got an open man on the back post. Always watch the back post. That is where almost all crosses make their way to.
That has been my biggest complaint. And I've mentioned it to you, and I've mentioned it to every single one of my friends who has ever come with me to a Chicago Fire game. They're like, what's your greatest fear? And I just point to the left towards Miguel Navarro. And even my friends that are very not interested in soccer, they don't know much, they can tell this is someone that does not watch his man. He does not watch his area. He's sometimes very hesitant to make, to go and do something. He'll watch, and then bad things happen. And then in complete opposite end of the spectrum, when he does go to challenge for the ball, it doesn't end up really working as proven against the Union.
So Kay does the same exact thing. That's the thing. That's like, we have two Miguel Navarros out there.
Ugh. The sight of it. The mental image.
I feel like that also brings the questions like, clearly they're a little better offensively white. Imagine if you put them both as right mids and just started like Dean at right back. That would probably be a lot better.
Problem is that they'll probably start Dean at right mid instead of at right back. They'll start Dean at right mid and puts Okay in the back. That's what I mean. Like, they are, this was something that was with like Sekulic as well. They're a good wing back, but they're not a good fullback. And the thing is, we're putting them at fullback, and we're like, why aren't they defending? Well, they're not fullbacks, they're wingbacks. And the problem is that I don't think they add enough going forward to make up for what they lack going back.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we have Haile Selassie and Mueller for in terms of going forward.
And I was going to say that if we go for a wingback formation with three defenders and then those two as wingbacks, I mean, why bother? Because we got Marin and Mueller. Like, you'd be taking away their jobs when they're doing so well.
They took our jobs. Sorry.
It says about the American and Venezuelan.
I'm sorry. It's just the first thing that came to mind. We just need a bit of light humor in these dark and trying times, I guess, in terms of this team.
What is it? This will have to be funny or else it'll just be sad. I know there was like a more specific one that I put in from like Barbara Seville and the Collier article, but like that's the one quote from Julian Baker is the one that I always use.
Low key, I thought you were gonna say the quote, but then I was like, wait a minute, he already did.
I just did.
On that topic though, Jiggly, we do need to get you to interview Elliot Collier.
That is true.
I just like, okay, have I ever told the story about, well, I'd said it on Sad Boys once, but have you guys heard my story about me trying to meet Elliot Collier and when I met Wyatt Omsberg?
Nope.
Please do tell. I'm interested.
So it was a couple years ago. I actually also met Chris Brady at that event as well. It was I think it was the 24th anniversary party where it's like, it's not an important one. So it's just like, yeah, just come by to to the fire pitch, and there was a Saba concert afterwards. So like, that's fun, that's neat. I was looking around for Elliot Collier so I could say, I'm sorry and I appreciate what you do.
Mhm.
All I want to say is I appreciate what you do. Because you know what? The thing that he did was do really stupid things. And I don't think any player appreciates having you say, like, I really love how terrible you are. It's like, I appreciate what you do. So I was looking for him and I could have sworn I saw him, but I was like, I was too nervous to go up to him the first time. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do it yet. I'll get to it eventually. And I finally go up to someone thinking it was Elliot Collier. It was White Omsberg. And he's
Ooh.
like, oh, no, yeah. Like even the coaches get us mixed up sometimes. It's just like the two tall dudes. So I spent some time talking to him, and I was basically just like, "Hey, just help me find Elliot. If you see Elliot, just send him over. I just wanted to say hi to him and thank him for what he does." And could not find him. He was already gone. He already was going to the Saba concert. So get on the bus to head over to Metro, which is where the Saba concert was, and he wasn't there. And I know there's a few Fire fans that actually were able to get up into the VIP area because well, it's a Fire concert, so like there's Fire VIP. If you know a guy in there, you can get up. But the only Fire player that I knew was there is because I was out on the floor. I look up and I just see Elliot Collier. The old I saw a couple of like the low level assistant coaches. Yarko was there as well, and as I said, like a
Ooh.
couple of like old time Fire fans who are like actually friends with some of those old players. And I'd look up and I'd take a picture, like just to mention to like Adnan, I was like, he's mocking me. And then I take the picture and Collier notices that I'm taking the picture and he gives a peace sign. And I'm just like, he is absolutely mocking me. He is absolutely mocking me. I tried to find this man the entire night, could not. He's mocking me.
That's just incredible.
That man is a trickster god. And
Gotta love him for that.
do you want to go on to the other thing that I see on here?
This has been a long conversation, and it has to deal with how the Fire are trying to basically get people to the games, and one is essentially giving out free tickets. They had a thing where they literally had a link where it was like, want free tickets for the next 2 games, click here. I even was like, okay, and by the time I went on there, there wasn't too many good seats left, and I was like, okay, it's not really worth it. And this has caused a lot of frustration, especially for season ticket holders. And like you mentioned with MLS, and the whole season pass, they're trying to do it for casual fans. It's kind of a little bit of the same thing here with the Fire, them trying to get like like maybe someone that's never been to a game, or that's someone that's really, they don't really have that much interest over, the people that are paying a decent amount of money to go to as much as
Consistently.
or consistently. That's, yeah, consistently giving a decent amount of money to go to all the games or majority of the games and whatnot. And I know you had a lengthy post about it on Twitter, Jiggly, about this whole, free tickets and deals situation.
Well, we're working on an article right now because a couple of the other writers have actually done some pretty good research on it. I mean, I'll be doing most of the like actual writing of that article, but some others did research for it, and it's not like those tickets were like any good. I did talk to some people about like how those tickets even happen, and apparently, like there's a large bulk of those free tickets that were actually supposed to be for like CPS. You were supposed to have a CPS email. And there were some schools and some teachers or administrators or whatever that were just like, yeah, I'll just give these tickets out. And that's a problem. Last year, back when Ishwara was still president, where, she was like, we want us to be competitive with the rest of the league with our ticket sales. And it's like, okay, cool. So you raise the prices. So that means less people want to pay more money to watch a worse team. And at the same time, you're giving away free tickets so that there are some season ticket holders who are just like, I want to cancel at this point so I could just get free tickets every week. Because you can. there's now like there are now loopholes starting up where you can just get a free ticket every week, and that's how it works.
Yeah.
And there's such a lack of like initiatives for like season ticket holders. There used to be like, the season ticket holder gift every year, where like it was like we still use our cooler from like 2008. And then you've got like, the season ticket holder gift this past season, which was, I think it was a medallion, maybe.
So I'm looking at it
Like-
behind me. It was like this little pretty box, and it had like a coin on one side as the logo, on the other side as like the trophies, and like this little like commemorative like ticket/banner thingy in like
It's
a glass
stupid.
case. There's not much value in
It's
that.
stupid.
Honestly,
I remember
Yeah.
thinking the one time that they sent like just a letter with like all of the team signed it and like saying that was the season ticket holder gift. I thought that was lame. Dear God, just sending a medallion is nothing. That is nothing.
No, yeah.
And there's also like basically no perks. They're not paying for your parking. You don't
No.
get a discount for parking. And you look at the tickets for the Open Cup game. I mean, the parking is almost the price of the ticket.
Yeah, no.
I mean, and parking, obviously, once again, this was a part of the conversation about like the free tickets, but like, there's not much that they can do when the parks are the ones who set what parking is. You cannot deal with it. But at the same time, hey, maybe the club can like subsidize the parking for season ticket holders or something like that. It is so stupid that we have to keep pointing to other people as the problem. Yes, the city and the parks district are annoying. We already knew that back in 2005, Like there's no changing that. So why are we blaming them again and saying, well, we have to pass it's like have you ever heard of it that there's something in every single cable package when you pay for cable? There's a specific line in there that's like, oh, this is a specific fee that we have to pay in order to use like public access networks and put them onto cable. We have to pay it, so we're passing on the cost to the consumer. It's like, no, you're the big cable company. You can pay it. You don't have to make the consumer pay for it just because you want higher and higher profits. You can have stable profits and be fine paying that little bit extra because it's like, well, we want to make sure that our customers are well taken care of. We want to make sure that our supporters are taken care of. Our season ticket holders, our consistent hardcore fans are taken care of because those are the people that are going to do your word of mouth marketing. You can drive by a Chicago Wolves banner like every single day to and from work. There's a Chicago Wolves billboard. You're not going to go to a game, but maybe you got a friend who's like, hey, you want to come to a Chicago Wolves game? And you're like, yeah, sure, why not? And you enjoy it. And suddenly, eventually you might be a season ticket holder.
Mm-hmm.
That's how marketing works for sports. That is the people that market for you. It is not, something on a bus. It is not it's not like the ads on TV. It is the people who say, hey, this is a fun thing.
That is exactly how I became a fan, how I became going to games. And that is how I got majority of my friends to go to games as well, and them becoming fans of not just the Fire, but just the soccer in general by being like, hey, you're not doing anything this Saturday. Let's go to a Fire game and let's have fun. And like constantly, whenever there's a Fire game, they're like, hey, I'm always telling my friends, hey, anyone up for a Fire game? And they're like, hell yeah. And it is frustrating. Like you were saying with the loopholes, one of the reasons I didn't renew my season tickets, not just because of the fact that, since I'm going to Italy in the summer, I have to pay for that, and I'm not going to be here for a decent amount, but also I found out that there's tickets for students that are cheaper than the usual
that's a recent
ones.
thing. I mean, the thing is like tickets for students, that's a good thing. That's always a good thing.
Yes.
I love that. But at the same time, it's not something that is like, you're not helping your core group. I mean, think of like, what is it? There was somebody saying like, hey, if we can't get people out right now, then what we do is we ship in a bunch of kids to go see those games, and maybe they'll get hooked, and maybe eventually we'll have like better supporter stuff. And the thing is that we've seen this already. And we have seen how many kids do you know? How many people do you know? Because we this has already happened. How many people do you know right now that started watching The Fire because they went with an AYSO group? Because I mean, the answer is not that it's not that much. DJ, how did you become a fan?
How I became a fan was because of geography. The entire reason why I like soccer is because I read a little pamphlet about South Africa back in the World Cup, and I said, "Ooh, that sounds like a way to learn about countries."
I'm talking about The Fire specifically, though.
Yeah, that's exactly how I got to The Fire. Just like, oh, cool, soccer. Oh, cool, Robin Van Persie. Oh, cool, Arsenal. Oh, wait, Chicago? Oh, I didn't know Chicago had a team. What the heck?
What is this just because Chicago was the first team you found?
Yep.
That's amazing.
I love
It's incredible.
I love that we didn't know. This should have been the obvious sign that I was autistic, but we didn't know still.
I mean, me still being around The Fire, I guess. It's that whole thing that we've heard constantly of like, oh yeah, I went to how many times have you heard? Okay, I'm not gonna ask the question again because it's like I know so many kids that I knew in high school that were like, oh yeah, I've been to a Fire game with like my AYSO team or like my travel team, and they don't care about The Fire. They're talking about Arsenal. They're talking about Borussia Dortmund. Like they don't care about The Fire. They just care about soccer. And if the team's not good enough, they're not going to care. If there's nobody who's like there to make like, hey, this is a cool thing to do, then they're not going to stick around. So why are you like insisting like the children are our future? Well, the children don't care because you haven't made anything good for them right now. You can't just ship in a bunch of kids and say, eventually maybe you can fix this. No one wants to fix it. Fix it now and make it ready for them to come in and say, wow, I do want to be that someday.
Amen. I say to all that. Just round of applause, honestly. Very, very good words. I don't want to like cut off this conversation, because, it's very good, but I don't want to say we're running low on time, but, we've talked a lot about this, and I kind of wanted to move on to,
your rant now.
well, I want to keep this short. Listeners of the podcast know that I love to go on my rants, but I do want to keep it a bit short. Basically, if you're in the stadium and you didn't know what was happening, and if you were watching on TV and didn't see what happening, there was a bit of a kerfuffle, a bit of the word that's been, used the most, infighting in the supporter section. And honestly, that is what kind of ruined the game / the mood for me the most, and even more than the result. Basically, what happened there between the two groups, in section 124 or no 123, where there's a lot more majority of the English speaking or like the English predominant
American
groups.
style.
American style of support, and to the right facing the field 122, that's where your sector Latino, that's where that's been going on. And there was throughout the whole game there was a little frustration brewing, whether about trying to get their chance in, complaining that the groups are going too long and that no one's really being engaged, or that the timing isn't there. And unfortunately, it reached a boiling point, and there was a yelling match going across the aisle. Monterrey security made it worse, in my opinion.
Yes, absolutely.
Pushing people back, and unfortunately, some fans were riled up to the point that they were taken away in cuffs, and just for me personally ruined the mood of the game at the end. And I at that point just sat down and I was like, I am tired. And I understand from both points that frustration, you know, especially when it comes to like the whole, keeping time and keeping a steady beat and tempi, it's like, as a musician, I get that, like if I'm in a rehearsal and, there's someone that's not keeping the steady beat, I'm going to get frustrated, but I'm not going to all of a sudden just stand up and just like go yell at them or something like that. Because first of all, we're adults. We're at an age where we have to understand that, yelling and threatening and just, screaming it doesn't help. And the way it ended on Saturday, just for me, unacceptable personally. Like, if there's frustration, we talk about it afterwards. It was near the end of the game already. Like, and of course, a lot of people have had a lot to drink, throughout the game. So it just we could have gone home, we could have slept on it, and we could have, messaged, talked afterwards, being like, "Hey, can we sort this out?" And I'm just disappointed and frustrated that that happened, because I don't, as in my time in the supporters section, it hasn't been too long, but I've never witnessed like that kind of infighting, you know, in our group or even across other groups that I've watched. So it's disappointing, just to say the least.
So I have seen that kind of fighting before. And I mean, this is a consequence of just having been around for this long.
Yeah,
I'm
you've definitely been
aware
a lot
of
longer than I have
I'm
been.
aware of even worse fighting that happened before I was aware of it. Uh, but it's people need everyone involved in this club need to grow up from the guys in the stand to the guys on the pitch to the guys up in the office.
Yep.
Everyone needs to grow up. Everyone needs to figure out what they're doing and realize, what position they're in and how all any of us want to do is make this team better. And it's just actively making things worse.
Yep. And yeah,
I
I'm
mean, I
kind of.
had the longer rant on Twitter about it. Like, I won't
I know.
rehash that here.
I saw it, and I personally just wanted to put my my 2 cents on it, and I did mention it in the group before after the game that I'm gonna be a bit. I don't want to say emotional. I think I said, but like emotional in the sense of disappointing. I'm the teacher that walks in the next day, sits on the desk, and be like, "I'm very disappointed, you guys." That's currently me, and I'm not gonna lie. This last weekend after the game, like the Sunday and even and the Monday afterwards, that I low key wasn't interested in doing the podcast in this week because of it. I was like, is this the point where I need to take a break?
I'll be honest. I mean, like you saw in that rant, like me saying, I had the flash moment, of just like, I'm done. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just gonna go off and just do anime stuff now. Like, I
Yeah.
can't deal with this anymore.
Uh,
And I mean, I'm not doing Sad Boys this week either, but I mean, that's like combined with other issues with
yeah.
scheduling.
Yeah. I was also supposed to originally record another thing. Hopefully that will be done next week. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, no, this kind of thing, and it's the same thing for me as an educator, because I'm a music educator in training, and I do practicum with first graders, and the same thing. Whenever they're, misbehaving and doing bad, and I'm trying my best, and it's just the moments come up as like I need a break from this, but you know after a few days and a bit of sleep on it, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get back up, and just continue doing what I love to do. And part of that is recording this podcast with you lovely people. So I'm glad to be here. I'm glad that you guys are providing plenty of conversational topic for our faithful and lovelies listening. So thank you guys, and thank you, the listener, listening along,
I have two things to just add right before we go on. First of
Mhm.
all, the House just lost in the Amateur Cup
Oh, oh
to
my.
United Serbian. They lost 2-1. But I do want to add that like there are things being done. I mean, I'm a part of the group of people trying to get things done and trying to fix things. And I don't want to make it be like, oh yeah, you're either with us or against us. But at the same time, it's like, hey, we all want the same end product. Why can't we all pull in the same direction towards that end goal?
Mhm.
So that's basically what I'm, you know, I know that this honestly this podcast is a bigger reach than Sad Boys for some reason. But I mean, the some reason is that Sad Boys is so much longer than this, so I shouldn't keep us going.
No, yeah, but I mean, hey, it's all right if we go a bit, over our usual hour limit or limit, our usual hour, because we usually want to try to keep things a bit more concise. Do like a bit of team week, what happened in the last game, what's to look ahead. But I feel like this is a conversation that just needs to be addressed. We can't just sweep it under the rug and say, oh,
It's
what's
going to be
past the
addressed. It
past.
is actively being addressed.
Yes, it is being addressed, and I also just wanted to address it here. So, DJ, do you have anything to say about this?
I think hamburgers go well with French fries.
I love you, DJ. I well and truly do. All right, one more topic, and that is our next MLS game against Atlanta. It will be away, and it will also be the game where we wear our little, they're calling it the One Planet jersey. They released images already. So, do you guys have any opinions on the kits, both Fire and, MLS in general, the quote unquote One Planet jersey?
We need more third kits in the league. Just in
Yeah.
general. I mean, having the same kits forever. I saw this. I may be stealing this a bit from somebody else. I want to give them credit then. Firewire Media, who said like, yeah, the same kit for every single team. That's a bit annoying, and it's also weird whenever you watch a game. It's like, oh wait, oh no, this is this game. Got it. Okay. Obviously, it's great. The fact that they're made of like the material that they're made of should be the important thing, not the design on them. The design on them should be something special to each team. The
Yeah.
material, obviously, that's what they're about.
Yeah, like here, like having Inter Miami and Orlando having like Everglades on them or something like that, versus here's a color palette. You get two choices.
You don't even get the choice. You're just the home or the away team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something I've mentioned. I was like, because I'm all right with like the lighter, what colors? Is this like a teal color, something like that?
Yeah.
And that's the one that the Fire's gonna have. But I feel like it'd be nice if you had both options rather than, oh, you're the away side, you're gonna get the away shirt for this year. So I guess that's my main, I guess. I don't want to say like beef, but like that's my main, like, hey, even though my goal this year is not to buy any jerseys because I'm already, I've already made too many poor financial decisions in the last few years when it comes to purchasing like jerseys
Like
and stuff
going to
like
a
that.
Fire game
Or
or paying to go to a Fire game.
Girl, that's a topic for another thing. So yeah, Atlanta, they are in the last 5 games, they're 2-2-1. They won. They're 2 wins with 5-1 against Portland and 1-0 against Red Bull. They are 1 loss with a 1-6 loss against the Crew, and their last 2 games they drew to NYC 1-all and to Toronto 2-all. Do you guys have any opinions / things to watch out for, both in terms of Atlanta and what we need to do in order to make sure we don't, 1, add to the L column, and 2, add to the we were up and then we were not column?
Narrative. It's just going to happen.
I'd also add we also need to make sure we don't lose anybody. That seems to happen a lot in Atlanta, where it's like somebody goes down with injury or somebody does something really stupid and gets suspended for a few games.
That's true. I think they had a player that was out with red card suspension. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. And in their last game, they did have, I think, Thiago Almada out. Brad Guzan's out with injury. Do you guys have any predictions for Fire at Atlanta?
23-4.
Does anyone have any serious predictions?
How are they gonna? Are you saying that like are you saying that that Atlanta's gonna concede 2 safeties?
Exactly.
2.
hmm
You think the Fire defense is that good?
No, I think Atlanta just gets drunk.
Okay.
Oh boy.
In all seriousness, I will say it's probably going to be 1-3 in favor of Atlanta.
Oh boy.
I'd need more time to think about like a specific score or whatever. Because the thing is, like, the Fire have something, but they don't. And that's a real problem.
Yeah.
I think and as you said, like Thiago Almada is questionable, and that's the big thing.
Mhm.
And I remember going into the season, I said that Atlanta was going to fall apart, and that clearly has not been true because they've only lost a single game this season. I mean, the Fire have only lost a single game this season, but Atlanta has many more wins and many more goals. So, and also a whole lot higher XG. I'll tell you that. And their Greek guy is going to beat our Greek guy fairly easily. I said this before, and I'll say it again. The Fire should have should have at least tried to get Kyogo Furuhashi from Celtic. And there were some other people saying that, like, yeah, because Celtic was trying to get rid of Giacomakis, the Fire should have gone for him. They didn't. Atlanta got him, and now he's got 4 goals already. Only 6 appearances, 4 starts.
It's frustrating in terms of looking at the Fire's transfer record and, who they go after and whatnot. So, and in terms of transfers, we're still looking for that third DP. And
No, we're not. We are waiting. We are just waiting now.
in terms of looking, I think us, the fans, and what they're doing,
I don't know what they're doing.
No, yeah. Personally, I think in terms of what's going to happen, I think I'm going to have to say it's also going to be a Fire L. Probably, I think maybe a 2-1. I'm not going to go too completely one-sided. But, I had a bit of hope after the Minnesota game. And, the fact that we were fairly close against that one loss we did have against the Union, but there's clearly just a lot that still needs to be worked out. And this could also just be me still feeling a bit down after what happened on Saturday. So, are we ready to move on to, I'm pretty sure this is DJ's favorite part of the day, to the question of the day.
I'm still working on it, honestly. I'm actually doing research.
All right. Well, I mean, we can go ahead of you. DJ, please read out what is the question of the day.
Question of the day. You're transported into your favorite anime alongside 3 chosen Chicago Fire players, past and or present. Who are you bringing and why? Follow-up. Would they beat Goku and Saitama in a fight?
That's a very, very interesting question, honestly.
The thing is that you said favorite anime. Let me just tell you, my favorite anime is like completely based in the real world. I'm gonna look through. Alan, do you have my anime list? I could just send you mine, and you can look at this.
I have a Crunchyroll list.
Oh, okay. So I have a Mal account, and my first one, based in the real world. Second one is like a Porco Rosso, which is like, I mean, that's aviation, whatever. Then it's Makemonogatari. Then it's the Monogatari series. I'm just going to call it the entire Monogatari series. That is based in the real world. Saikano, based in the real world. Like Horus Requel, there's a bit of something there, but that is still mostly based in the real world. Finally, I get to Princess Connect, and that is an isekai world, yeah. But like, I don't know if I'd call anything that. So I'm just gonna say, like, instead of favorite anime, just you are in a generic isekai world. Who are you bringing with, and how are they going to help you? Let's go with that.
For you, we will.
Oh, do you have an answer, Jiggly, or do you want
No,
us
I'm
to
still
go ahead?
working on it.
Oh
I was
my
just like,
days.
because you sounded confused, and I'm just like, you know what? Let's simplify this so that it's not like favorite anime. It's like just generic isekai. Let's go.
This would be a great time to mention that I don't watch anime.
Think of have
Did
you
you
ever
make the
played
question
D&D
just for
though?
us?
Well, like, have you ever played D&D? Because it's basically that. Like, generic isekai world is basically just D&D.
No, full honesty, I've only ever watched like 3 or 4 animes. They've been Pokemon, Spy X Family, and One Punch Man and Death Note. So obviously, One Punch Man is going to be the winner for me.
Well, I mean, just like any sort of like fantasy world, like honestly, it's mostly just clones of like the Tolkien world. So like you might know that. You probably know that. Just like who would you bring there?
Who would you bring to be high on shrooms while talking to a white wizard? Definitely Sebastian Grazzini.
Yeah, right.
This is truly
You
incredible.
said 3. You got.
No, I'm sticking to One Punch Man. I'm just gonna say I will bring Brant Bronico, probably Sean Johnson and Matt Polster.
Okay.
For no reason other than Polster loves Fortnite. Johnson would be like the strongest one there, and Bronico would be so nice that he would get along perfectly with Saitama. We would be safe for the rest of the year.
I like that. So my favorite anime is Darling in the Franxx, which is like a
Oh God.
What do you say, oh God?
I mean the ending. Like
I know.
we can talk about this.
We can talk about this
Some other time.
separately another time, so we don't have to annoy the Fire Faithful that is like, what is going on? I'm gonna say I'm gonna bring Wyatt because he's gonna be like my best friend, and then we're gonna have like all the best conversations in the series, heart to hearts. I'm gonna bring Francisco Calvo because he's gonna be the one that's recklessly getting into the battles, and most likely probably one of the ones that is going to not make it, just for the lulz. And then third, I'm having so much difficulty choosing, but I low key am just gonna go with Bobby Shuttleworth because he's like probably in recently, if past Fire players, that's like my favorite, and I feel like we would be like I feel like the us three of Wyatt and Bobby would be like that trio that no one can stop.
So, because I said generic isekai world, the most generic isekai world is obviously Konosuba.
Absolutely.
Not because it's generic, but because like it's built to be the most generic place. And so it's like, so who's gonna fill each role in that group? I mean, obviously you are Kazuma. That's just what it is. So you are the protagonist guy. So you need to
Yes.
fill out the other 3. So you need a defender, you need an attacker, and you need your magician. And so my defender is obviously Sean Johnson, the milkman.
Yeah.
You got him. The attacker, you guys might not know this. Robbie Earnshaw's mom is like was like a boxer. Like I remember this was an episode of Sad Boys where we just randomly found out like, oh yeah, Robbie Earnshaw has like a very interesting family. I want to take Robbie Earnshaw and he will be my attacker. It's a very bold move, but I want to see how that pays off. And then my magician, when you think about magician, like you would think in terms of like sport, in terms of like the skill and everything. It's like, no, you need personality. Like Megumin is like personality. And the biggest Megumin personality that I could come up with on my list is Quincy Amarikwa.
Oh God.
He is my magician. He will do the explosions.
He will enjoy every second of this.
He will have so much fun.
Incredible.
Which I just realized, I think, didn't all 3 of them play at the same time for the Fire?
Yes. They both
at the same time.
They all played in 2014.
I also had other people on my list, like David Arshakin. You bring him, he is your giant. He is he wouldn't be your attacker, he's your defender. He's your intimidation guy. I got Bornstein as like a good leader. Obviously Bronico, CJ. I got Jorge Campos in this list too. I was putting together a short list. I just thought like he could also do the magician stuff as well. Like he's that flamboyant guy, but I think like Quincy just has so much. He's got so much going on. I also got Drew because I love the guy, but I mean we're fighting for roles here. Klopas, Lubos Kubik would have been a great defender as well. Mike McGee, also magician. Wyatt, honestly, I think he could be the attacker. I think he could fight. Oh man, I forgot Actually, I might want to switch out Javier and Shaw for Carlos Duran. Because that man could beat up anybody. Like he is the most intimidating player that I think the Fire have ever had.
And to follow up on the second part of the question of whether they would beat Goku or Saitama, I'm just gonna say, in my case, Francisco Calvo is just gonna get Yamcha'd. He's just gonna be in the crater.
My mom could beat Goku.
It's very cool to hear.
Yeah.
My group beats Goku easily because we befriend Saitama and he fights for us. And Saitama will always beat Goku.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm gonna say honestly, because my idea is that we go to a fantasy world and we get isekai'd, and Quincy is our explosions person. Yeah, Quincy's just gonna explosions. Explosion.
Nice. Well, this has been an incredibly just incredible episode all around. A lot of detail, a lot of conversation, a lot of weeb stuff, and especially at the end. That I hope our Fire Faithful
honestly.
can. Well, I feel like it's enough in terms of the context of what we're supposed to be doing on this podcast.
There's never enough for Jiggly.
Not enough weeb.
No.
There's not enough weeb for Jiggly ever.
Well, if you want more of Jiggly and his weeb stuff, then let us know in the comments and the replies.
Well, we actually want to. I mean, I want to say this out. We've said this on Twitter a couple of times, and I've also talked about this with Alex. That I really want us to do a Fire film club, a Men in Red Fire film club, where it's me with my knowledge of film and everything, and then your knowledge of theater. So we're both like fairly well trained in like how this sort of thing is supposed to work, and then we just like watch something and we come back and we do a podcast episode.
So I'll watch.
If you guys want that,
please
opera. Say it.
I mean, I'd be down.
No, something sports related.
Oh, of course.
Like, we just watch something. We have to watch something sports related. So like we watch,
Victory.
Escape to Victory. Escape to Victory is amazing. I also had a couple other ones that like I'd want to just like surprise you with, as just like, we're watching this today.
Like sports movies, or like does
sports
that
movies? Yeah, sports or
soccer?
TV shows. Yeah, we should start off with soccer.
He's going to show you Air Bud.
Oh God, Airbud World Pup. Oh God, that was the reason why I wanted to be a goalkeeper, because of Brianna Scurry and Airbud and Zach Thornton.
All right. Well, this isn't me telling you guys that we should probably end this, but we should probably end this. Jiggly, where can the Fire Faithful that don't really follow you, where can they follow you social media wise?
I'm only on Twitter, Jiggly_333. Be prepared for a bunch of just like random stuff about anime most of the time. And then like throughout the week, you might hear about the Fire. And then suddenly on Saturday, it's everything. And then a lot of Sunday too. I also do Sad Boys FC, which we do change the name every week, but that is technically the official name. It's BOIS for boys. It's the gender neutral term for boys. And you could also read my articles. I have the one about Elliot Collier, which was really good, and I really like making it. You could find me on blacklist.com. Like that's I don't have my scripts up there, but like I have stuff about them. So I don't know, someone hire me. Wait, no, it's a writer's strike. I can't.
Thank you, Jiggly. And of course, as always, make sure to give us a follow on all social media platforms: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Check out the website, and also subscribe to the newsletter that also goes out, and make sure you follow us also wherever you get your podcasts, as well as the Men in Red 97 site itself. And also be on the lookout. Pretty sure Hot Takes next episode is coming out fairly soon. So be on the lookout for that, as well as if you have your own hot take about the current state of CF97, to submit that as well. It's on the Twitter. Hopefully y'all are having a, better evening than what I was having, and are looking forward to the next few games. So any closing remarks, DJ Jiggly?
I feel very bad for Austin.
Yeah, no, this is we Austin. Yeah, that it's this. We apologize, Austin, but this was just it's a lot.
What's sad is I wasn't even the most chaotic one here now.
No, sir.
It's what happens when you bring me in. Wow.
We are the
Wow.
chaotic trio that nobody asked for, but everyone's getting.
Amen. I say to that. So on that
Amen,
note,
amen. I say to you, wow.
thank you, Jiggly. So hopefully everyone's having a good day, and as always, let's go fire.
I never mentioned that I was the one who made the jingle.
He made the jingle.
Oh yeah.
Okay, he made the jingle. Bye. All right, Austin, love you. We wish you all the best. Let's start this thing in 3, 2,